Chapter 3 of the Tale of Benny Badger. This recording is in the public domain. The Tale of Benny Badger by Arthur Scott Bailey. Chapter 3. No One at Home. Since there seemed to be nobody lurking in the shadows around him and watching him, Benny Badger turned to the ground squirrel's hole and began to dig. How he did make the dirt fly! He scooped it up with his big feet and flung it back in a shower, not caring in the least where it fell. For he was interested not in what lay behind but before him. In almost less time than it takes to tell about it, Benny Badger had made the entrance of the tunnel so big that it swallowed his head and shoulders. Now, when some people do anything they are forever stopping to see how much they have finished, as if they hated to work and wished that they didn't have to. But Benny Badger was not like them. He loved to dig. And instead of wishing that it wasn't far to the ground squirrel's chamber, he kept hoping that it was a good long tunnel so that he might have plenty of fun digging his way to the end of it. He didn't pause to look back at the pile of dirt he had thrown behind him. In fact, he didn't stop for anything, not even to take a long breath, until he noticed a sound that made him pause and listen for a few moments. It was a yapping, growling noise that caught Benny Badger's ear, a noise that changed, while he listened, to a howl, and then suddenly ended as it had begun. That call, coming as it did out of the night, would have frightened many people. Not knowing just what it was, they might have thought it sounded like the cry of a wolf. But Benny Badger showed not the least sign of fear. On the contrary, he seemed almost angry with himself because he had stopped even for a few moments to listen. "Oh, fudge!" he said, or something a good deal like that. "It's nothing but a coyote." And then he went to digging faster than ever, to make up for lost time. He hadn't been working long after that when Mr. Coyote's call made him back out of the hole and listen once more. "Shucks!" said Benny Badger, or something like that anyhow. "He's coming this way." Anyone could have seen that Benny Badger was not pleased, but he continued his work just the same. And he made the dirt fly even more furiously than before, because he wanted to reach the end of the ground squirrel's tunnel before Mr. Coyote arrived on the scene. It happened that Mr. Coyote was stalking slowly across the country in the moonlight, headed for no place in particular. So Benny Badger had time to burrow his way to the ground squirrel's bedroom without being interrupted. And then Benny met with a sad disappointment. The owner of the burrow was not at home. Benny knew that he could not have been gone long, because the bed of dried grasses was still warm. It was plain that Mr. Ground Squirrel had awakened and heard the sound of Benny Badger's digging, and there was no doubt that he had sprung up in a hurry and rushed out of his back door, while Benny made his way through the front one. Benny Badger tried to console himself with the thought that anyhow he had had the fun of digging, but he was very hungry, and there was no supper in sight anywhere. He was just about to renew his search for fresh ground squirrels' holes, when who should appear but Mr. Coyote himself, with a knowing smile upon his narrow face. End of Chapter 3.